What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Built Different podcast with Tucker Speed. This episode, I was joined by Eddie and Shawn, or Longhorn, as everybody knows them by, from Slyfox and Drifter Cross. They were just on their way through. They just came from Sturgis and on their way back home. And they had the opportunity to swing in and have a chat. We talked a lot about Drifter Cross and what Drifter Cross is. It's a totally new sport, combining, kind of stunt riding, drifting, and racing. And I think what they're doing is super cool. So we talked a lot about that, how they got involved with Slyfox and the brand and Drifter Cross. So I think you guys will enjoy the episode. Just remember, this podcast is brought to you by tuckerspeed.com, your one-stop shop for all things performance related for your Harley-Davidson motorcycles. Before we get started, give us a 5-star review and follow the show. Enjoy this one.
Making power by day, making friends at night. Built different. Tucker Speed. Hell yeah, brother.
Okay, let's do this thing.
Let's do it.
Eddie, thanks for joining us. Shawn,
Hey, man.
Thanks for having
everybody
us.
calls you Longhorn.
Yeah.
So we know who we're talking to here. You guys are on your way back from Sturgis,
Yeah.
just rolling through town. You guys were out there doing Drifter Cross
Yep.
and having a good time. You guys have been on a trek.
Yeah.
So you got a new to you motorhome
Yeah.
that you guys just picked up?
Yep. Picked it up from our good
So tell me
friends.
again, we've been talking for an hour here.
Yeah.
But yeah, just kind of give me the rundown, like what you guys have been up to the last couple months and where you're headed.
Well, a lot, Slyfox and Drifter Cross, we started really, it got pretty real very quickly.
Yeah.
It seemed to have been something that the community was kind of, they were kind of craving it, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Do you think the community, as in the riders or
Riders, yeah.
or viewers, or a little bit of both?
I would say both, but I think specifically the stunt community, they, at least from my perspective, because I'm pretty new to the stunt side of it, I've kind of started I was more on the race side with photos and all that.
Yeah.
But with the stunt stuff, I feel like the community was just kind of looking for something a little different. And Drift Across came up, and it's really gotten some wheels lately.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, but
So that I want to tell the story, so people understand, if they don't know what Drifter Cross is, what is it? I mean, obviously I've seen it. I've seen some of the events, but I want to make sure.
Yeah.
Let's let people know what it is.
I'll let Longhorn talk
Yeah,
about
it's not a stunt show. We're out there. We're an actual race. You sign up, you bring your bike, and you come and you show exactly what you got. It's not where you're invited to it, and that's the only way you get there. But
so in the format, it's more kind of like an amateur race.
exactly,
You register, sign. Is there classes?
Yeah, we're trying to work on doing a bagger class.
Okay.
As well. We have one lone bagger, Gabe Scott. He's one of our Slyfox riders, and
Well, right now it's
run
kind of
what you
run
brung.
what you brung, but
Sure.
I think
This year.
it'll eventually become.
It's got to start.
It's gonna
somewhere.
have-
yeah, we're really
classes.
close to qualifiers right now.
Mhm.
Like actually capping out on how many people we can have race for our time slot.
Okay.
So we try to keep it at 15. We're really, really close to having to actually have qualifiers. And once we get there, then classes, it'll be a 2-day event,
Yeah.
more than 1 day.
So just to kind of continue on with what it is, I mean, it's basically.
It's the first AMA drift racing for
So
motorcycles.
it's a timed event,
Yeah, absolutely.
but there's drifting. You have to, it's not just racing; it's drifting.
Yeah, so I think a lot of
Just
it,
trying to paint the picture
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
listeners.
without a doubt.
a lot of it kind of comes from the history that Longhorn has. He's was heavy. It's still very heavy in the motocross and supercross community. There's a lot of similar skills that come from that. He's also a stunt rider, so it was the perfect blend of two very different skills, but very useful when combined.
Yeah,
And I think that's how drift across kind of emerged.
yeah. Well, I think it's cool. I think it's a cool evolution to stunt riding.
Yeah, it's something that has allowed, the stunt riding or even the drift community to kind of lean more towards a race, so that there's an actual
Kind of an objective.
start and finish,
Sure.
and there's something that determines whether you won or you lost.
Sure.
There's no arguing a clock or time.
So if to set it up, I've told people, because people have asked me like, what's drifter cross, and I've explained it, and you guys tell me if this is accurate or not. It's barrel racing, like if you're familiar with rodeo.
Yeah,
Barrel racing meets stunt riding.
Yeah.
In a sense.
In a sense.
You have a starting line. You go out onto the course and you're drifting around cones or barrels or whatever it is you guys have set up.
yeah,
Right. Barrel racing is super structured. There's an actual pattern to the barrel setup.
Sure.
It's always the same. Every course is a little bit different.
Sure,
So
unique to it. It's not the same in that, but it's essentially kind of going, out on the course,
Yes.
going around whatever setup you guys have built for that round.
Yeah.
yeah.
And every parking lot's so different. Like
Yeah.
they have a lot of character, that you could add into it. Like we went to Mid Ohio and there was an off camber part
okay.
of the course where we put a turn in, and it was really,
Off-camber.
really difficult for
Okay.
a lot of guys. But
So there's skill, like there's
it's a very technical driven sport. Like it shows your talent whenever you go out there and you have a lot of talent.
it's going to separate the guys
Yes.
that can actually ride.
Right.
Yeah. I shouldn't say that can ride, but just some of the better riders.
Right, and it's really, really hard at first for a lot of guys. But like we had a new to us guy, Rusty. What's his last name?
Forgot his name, but he was at. His first name is Rusty, and he
Carvalho.
was.
Is that it?
No, it was an Italian name, I believe.
Yeah. Well, he was
But he was shredding.
shredding. First day,
yeah.
really had trouble just getting around the course. Next time we saw him, he had put it together, and I think he ran top 5.
Okay.
Yeah. So he went from there's this kind of idea where there's the idea of drifting, right? And it's typically for show and for style. To understand to get drifting under a specific time is kind of what they struggle with at first. And then they realize that there's left and right turns. And so that's what he's, pointing out is he came out and he was like, oh, this is pretty challenging. I got to do lefts and rights or full Larrys. And first day he came out, he was getting used to it. And then second day he got it. And
Back quick.
yeah,
Okay.
and really showed what they're capable of, their specific skills, or the writing's there.
And that's the crazy thing is now they're no longer just trying to get around the course. Now they're looking at the corners on entry of where they can open it up or push it deep and then exit tight. You know what I mean? Like actually looking
Like
at
looking
the
for
course.
race
Yeah.
lines.
The mentality's changing from because when they drift on the street or they drift on the lot, they're
It's
doing
all
it
style.
for
It's
style
all style.
and show. And when they got there, some of the guys realized very quickly when they see someone like Jesse Ryan or they see like Corey Tazinski actually doing changes to their bikes in real time, they start seeing that there's a race mentality and a race aspect to this.
Okay.
And they start to really understand it. And
So-
they realize that the suspension matters, the tire matters, the gearing matters. And they're like, it's funny because you see it in their eyes and they're like, whoa, why are you adjusting your suspension?
Right. Yeah.
You know, or
They never thought that
Yeah,
as they were drifting down the highway.
yeah, and there's some guys that, you know, there's a lot of guys that know that stuff, right? I don't want to act like they don't. But there are some guys that are just like, oh, you know, I guess it does make sense to jump up 2 teeth or jump down 2 teeth on the sprocket.
Or like you were saying
Depending
earlier,
on the
like
course.
different tires
Oh yeah,
react different, you know, and hook different.
Right.
yeah. I mean, Corey is taking it absolutely serious as it can be. You know, and if it needs something, he tries to address it. It's, you know, if there's something punching him in the face, he's going to go back to the truck and fix it. You know, and that's why I think he's been as successful. Even whenever he was on a borrowed bike, it was within tenths of a second that he won by. And, you know, had Gabe's bike been, he even said it himself, if Gabe's bike would have been set up any better, Gabe was on point, you know, every lap
Gabe's
was right there.
Yeah.
So, you know, it just, we just got to keep looking and moving forward. And then when everyone's racing or participating in a race, you know, other than just thinking it's a show, we'll move forward, we'll go faster, you know.
The bikes will start to change.
What do you think the bikes will look like in another couple of years? Do you think they're going to go away from looking like what we could say as a traditional stunt bike? Do you think they're going to take on this like morphed like stunt / race
Slider
bike? Yeah, like
I think
it's maybe a whole new style.
I think right now what I can say right off the bat that's going to change probably the quickest is they're going to realize that suspension matters.
Okay.
Absolutely, because
Front and rear.
front and rear for, you know, for gripping on your exit and for coming to a proper stop where you're not just, so they're coming to a marker, right? And we're seeing some bikes where the front end is dancing as they're coming in.
Okay.
And when we see like a Jesse Ryan or a Tazinski or someone with proper suspension, that front end is just coming in like it should be. And they're exiting on, when they exit, it squats the right way. And the difference is all there. And I think that they're going to start picking up on that.
You've rode moto.
Yeah.
You ever rode a rut track?
Yeah.
And you get into your corners and you just getting ready to roll on throttle and you know, and you're just waiting until you can get on throttle. Like, that's the things that I think that if your bike's set up properly, whenever you come in and you load the front end and you let go of the brake and it doesn't pop up at you, you know, the things that help you to where you can actually get on the gas quicker or make the corner and you don't have that little problem or hiccup that you know. And some of the guys are just, you know, they're out there winging it. They, you know, they have blown fork seals. They're participating, having a good time. But I think, like, as we get to where we're, you know, moving forward and guys are like, even Trey Don't Play, he came out from the first one.
Smoking.
And, you know, he was in Daytona and he didn't, you know, he rode, he was able to get around the track great and he's a good rider. But
Absolutely.
the next time we saw him,
It was
totally
a different guy.
Like, he
picked it up.
You know,
Really?
battling for podium stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. So let me ask you this. What's the format for like scoring or judging? Like is it all timed?
It's all time.
All
Yeah.
timed?
Yeah.
No style?
No
or,
style. No.
Nothing like
no
that?
judge.
No, it's a race.
It's
So how do you keep it like let's say a dude goes out there and runs the course but doesn't drift at all. Like let's say
that would be pretty much impossible to do a corner.
Yeah. We set
just
it
with
up.
the way the course is set up.
Yeah, it's set up very, very. It forces you to drift if you.
I just
wanna
didn't
have
know
it
if there was
good.
like a point system or style or whatever, like a deduction.
There is a
if-
deduction, or we would say an addition of time, if they go out and totally blast a marker,
Okay.
or if they spill oil on the track or do anything like that. There's a second added to their time.
Okay.
But as far as like style points or stuff like that, no. If there's a marker, they come out and they totally
Just blow through right,
Yeah.
right
Yeah,
through the
you
center of it.
knock
they're
it
gonna
off
add a
center
second
of-
to
yeah.
their time.
Okay.
Like bumping, it's not the deal. It's when it's knocked off of the marker
Yeah.
completely.
They could come around and like hug it and even spin
and
it, but if
touch it,
you
but-
knock it out, it's a second at
Do you
it.
guys think that as it progresses and gets more competitive, maybe some of that will evolve as well?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Organically, we've already seen a lot of changes.
Really?
Just
From
you know,
our
just
first
from
one to
learning.
now, where
Yeah.
we are with the course and the way it looks, is completely different.
Yeah.
We were in a, at Willow Springs with cones that were wrapped,
in paper.
in paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, with
And-
like plastic poles
And
with the
just
paper
flags
flag.
hanging out of them. And now we're
Thank you,
a complete
Tahoe
setup.
Shit Show for that. They came in clutch with that, man. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
So
It's been very
the course
grassroots.
and maybe rules and
Oh well, yeah.
whatever, all that stuff will
Our ruling
evolve.
it comes from the AMA as they see it.
Okay.
We've actually had to change some stuff. You do have to wear high top shoes. You do need to wear a long sleeve shirt. It's dangerous. Like you're out there sliding a motorcycle on pavement, and
a big motorcycle
yeah, if
too.
you go down,
Yeah.
you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
So you just mentioned it, but you guys did get sanctioned by the AMA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is something that has some serious
Yeah.
backing and
We-
support.
Yes.
We really want to thank Rob Bidos for that,
Mhm.
Bagger Racing League.
Mhm.
Yep.
Plus all the work that Alex and Shawn have done.
hmm
We, and I will give them full credit because they deserve it. I mean, these guys are not playing around. Alex and Shawn, when it comes to putting on the best show we possibly can with the resources we have,
Sure.
making sure that everything looks as good as we can. Even as simple as the other day, me and Shawn were talking about. I asked him, "Why do you always clip all the freaking zip ties?" And he's like, "It's got to look good, dude." I was like, "All right."
It's just
get it. And
I've
and,
worked-
and you see
It's
the
in the
passion.
details, though, right?
Right.
It's so much passion with him and Alex, and
You're taking a
all of
photo
his
from
history.
across the course. The
Yeah.
last thing you want to see is zip tie fuzz
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just there's a level that you can either just you're professional or you're just doing it to get through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we want to have an event that we can have for a while and take it places and hopefully build a better platform for people to, it's like rodeo. You go and you try to make money.
Mhm.
And that's what these stunt guys are doing.
Mhm.
They're traveling around the country. They're putting themselves through everything, like they're putting themselves out there to where they could destroy their motorcycle, destroy their body, and they barely make any money,
Sure.
They're
Well-
not really getting much help because no one can get behind the fact that we're breaking the law on the street,
Yeah.
But we're really cool kids, and they want to they want to use us for marketing. They really
Sure.
do. It helps sell motorcycles, and this is what. And if you think stunt riding's over with, it's just wave and wave coming. If
Yeah.
you see the kids in the streets riding the Surons, and this is not going away. Everybody's gonna be riding motorcycles sooner or later.
Yeah.
Whenever they turn 18 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think the coolest thing, because like we talked a little bit, the stunt riding, stunt scene, as far as putting on shows, has been hard for guys to kind of break into, because there's different groups, that whether it's like a group like Unknown or whatever, like you
Right.
can't just go be one of those guys. It's a group of dudes that they get invited to do shows or whatever.
Yeah.
Or even like the Ride and Destroy with Max's show, and Max is a good dude.
Yeah.
But his show is an invitational.
Mm-hmm.
And those dudes worked super hard to have that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And they got to that point.
They got to
and
that point.
And they have their show. And you know what?
Now that-
I respect everything that they have going on because
sure.
that's how they made their way.
And
Yeah.
they created a platform.
And they created a platform for.
Well, yeah, they were dealing with a different set of challenges than what you guys are dealing with
Right.
today. And,
Right.
and you guys are trying to now pick up where they are
Yep.
and then evolve it from here.
Right.
And I think that the cool part about this is that a dude that's maybe out here stunting on the boulevard today can come to one of your events and register and
Yeah.
get out on the course rather than like and this isn't saying anything bad about one of the other shows. It's just like that kid who's stunting on the boulevard today is just a spectator at one of those shows. Like,
Right.
and maybe he does eventually maybe get an invitation,
Right.
but you guys are actually giving him more opportunity to be seen, right?
Right.
Yeah, to touch on that, I think that the Brawl and Ride and Destroy, they really, they have expectations, and they have to have good riders because it's a competition.
It's a competition,
yeah.
and
And it's a
and they have-
professional competition.
Yeah,
you
and they
should
have-
be a professional.
they
You
have,
should definitely.
they have sponsors
Yeah.
and they have obligations and they have to put on a show, and so they're going to bring in what they deem as the top talent.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
But this drifter cross can be feeder.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so
There has to be a Loretta Lynn's if you
Right.
want to, the motocross kind of
Right.
analogy. There has to be a way for these guys to
To
Yeah.
break in.
get into it.
yeah, like a Brawl type thing. They want to have the top of the top, and rightfully so. It's a competition, and they want to show who's the best out there. Because we're newer, yeah, we also do provide a platform for guys who are may not be very well known. Like in Daytona, we had a rider, specifically Al Jimis, who he's not very known in
His
social
Instagram's
media
private.
aspect. His social media is
Probably
private.
has like 700-800
Yeah,
followers.
I'm not sure how many
So
he has, but
is he
he's-
just a dude that loves to stunt but not
He
really looking
isn't-
for recognition?
Yes,
His girlfriend
that's
signed
like
him up,
exactly
I believe, how it
what's
went down.
going on there.
He just does it because he loves it.
He just
He's a
loves
good rider.
it.
He's not
And
trying to
he's-
be a rock star.
No, he
No,
just
he's a
is.
level-headed person that just
But-
comes out and wants to rip.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
He-
Yeah.
So my point with that is he came out and he podiumed along with Tazinski and Jesse Ryan, for instance, and so it was first Tazinski, second place was Jesse Ryan, which are very known riders, and then there was Al Jimis, and that was something awesome that we were able to provide,
Yeah.
and he deserved it. He absolutely shred.
And it's up to him whether he wants to take that and do anything with it.
Yeah.
If he doesn't care,
Yeah.
whatever. He had the opportunity to come out here and shred and
Yeah.
do something cool, and if that's all he wants out of it, or if he wants to be able to be like, hey, look, I podiumed, like, gain some followers, gain some attention, maybe a sponsorship.
Yeah.
That's up to that dude. But,
Yeah, it's up to him at that point, or even like.
but you gave him the chance.
At Sturgis, yeah. We had again Tazinski and Jesse Ryan, and then we had Chase from Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Chase Exotics,
Yeah, Chase Exotic is his.
which he came out to Nebraska and he
Yeah,
rode.
he came out to Nebraska and did the open practice,
Mm-hmm.
and then we also saw that he was an excellent rider, but he was a little confused at first with the right turns and the left turns and the full circles.
Mm-hmm.
And then towards the end of Nebraska, he was really getting it. He was really smooth. But then I was talking to him at Sturgis, and he's like, "Dude, I practiced," and he's like, "I just needed to like get a feel for what it was about." And I went home and I practiced, or whenever he had time. And he came out and he was swinging that FXR. It's a twin cam purple FXR, beautiful bike. And
Well, I'm
dude,
sure there's a
he
little bit of
ripped.
like shock to the system because a lot of these dudes, they go out to these lots or whatever, and it's just very much like maybe just send it into a drift and let it kind of go where it wants to go a little bit.
Yeah, there's nothing there telling you can't go there.
Yeah.
But now you're in this confined course with target points where you
Yeah.
need to be here, and then you 180 around that one, and now you got to be over here, and then you got to be
Up
over,
in the
you know,
gearbox.
or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Change, yeah.
Yeah.
we knew that skill was there in the community. We knew that the guys were capable to hit markers.
Maybe 5 years ago, the riding wasn't quite there, but I
Yeah.
think that like obviously Seabear and CJ and all these guys that are swinging bikes on the road has come into play, and it's just like all the kids want to do the same thing.
Yeah, they've influenced a lot.
a lot of people.
They have a lot of
spin their
skill.
bikes, and
And I think that created that where those guys have the ability to drift a bike in any direction they want at any time at any speed. And I
A
think,
few of those guys that you just mentioned.
yeah,
Those
CJ,
dudes,
you know,
yeah, those guys are
there,
very. I mean, you see
Jesse
those guys.
Ryan,
Yeah, you see those guys out in traffic.
yeah.
And
They're not
now-
just flinging it wherever.
No,
Like
No,
they're
They're very aware of where their
splitting
motorcycle's
lanes
at.
while drifting.
Yeah, yeah.
And that, you know, created a buzz and created, you know, something that allowed these guys to see what's possible.
Yeah.
And
You think that drifting is the new wheelie?
yeah,
In a sense, for sure, it
think
is.
so.
It's just another form of controlling your motorcycle at an extreme rate.
Yeah.
yeah, at an not normal situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, extraordinary.
Becoming comfortable with something that's very uncomfortable
Yeah.
is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's a lot with moto. You know, I worked with some pretty talented individuals over the years, and you know, it sometimes it hurts to go fast. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like pushing.
Push the. I mean, you got to find the limit.
Right. And I think
Or try, you try and bump up to the limit, but sometimes you go past it and
Yeah.
and then it hurts.
right. And
Yeah.
I think
You know?
that's where we're at with this. I mean, we're kind of, starting something new, trying to make it. It's already a cool concept. Everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
Now the rider capability is there, and now we just need to build a course that highlights those things that you're trying to get done, on the street or on the course.
And we challenged them to do it quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been fun. It's been a great platform so far. The guys really like it. We wanted to create something that was very professional as much as we could, right?
Yeah.
That's something that they needed too, I think, is as a professional platform as possible.
Structure.
So that stunt riding could be taken
brought
seriously.
a little bit. You got to be here to set up. You got to be here for tech. You got to be, arrive, and that's kind of hard. Stunt
Yeah.
riders, they just show up whenever they want.
Yeah, they're
They're a
punk
little
rockers.
They're a little punk rock.
Yeah.
Like they just
and
do
it's awesome,
Um,
and that's how they got to where they are.
Sure.
Doing their thing, and I want to see, like, Corey Tazinski. He works full time, has specific suspension, and has his deal, and then to come out and race our deal is awesome because he works all week long and then jumps in the van and rips across the country and comes out and does his deal. But he
Sometimes
didn't even
drives for 18 hours.
and sometimes doesn't make practice.
yeah.
Because
but
they just down
he's
to the
just
wire.
Such a dialed in rider and knows his motorcycle that, like, he's making changes and trying to go faster every time we see him, which is pretty exciting. That's what I think will move the motorcycle forward, is all the effort,
Yeah. And it's visible because he rides tremendously. For one, he's got the skill, but he also pays attention to what the bike needs.
Yeah.
And we're still only winning by tenths of a second.
Yeah. Which
Really?
is wild.
Really,
all very
so which is
competitive.
super
Yeah.
competitive.
Yeah.
So just every little edge is, what you need. You have to do that. What if you didn't change that?
Yeah, I think first, second, and third. First and second were 25 seconds, 25 point whatever. And then third place was very low, 26
Okay.
seconds. That's
So
how competitive
all
it
very
is.
close.
It's not like we had a 30, a 24, and a 27 second.
Yeah.
It's 25 point whatever, 25 point whatever.
And there's so much
26
talk in the pits about
Yeah.
how they're hitting corners and just,
where
they're going into, entrance, exit, like,
And that's very racy talk.
oh
Yeah. Which you see it in some of their eyes. They're like, man, this is crazy.
Well, I think it's cool because it gives, that's the cool thing about racing is that it's very structured, like very like, how do I get faster in this corner? How do I exit the corner? How do I get through this obstacle or whatever it is?
just to connect the two,
And there's a lot of thought and planning and then testing, and that didn't work, try something else. And that's probably a new element to a lot of the stunt guys, because a lot of the stunt things, it's very like free riding, kind of just whatever. There wasn't a whole lot of thought of like, oh, my suspension felt soft or chattery or like it.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
So it gives it that. I mean, and I'm a racer, so I love that stuff.
Right.
I really get into that technical aspect.
And that could have been the difference from third to second for Chase because his motor labored a bit as he was turning.
Mm-hmm.
Had he maybe thought the same way and
changed the sprocket.
he
Yeah.
could have
It could
maybe
have changed
could
something.
have changed a lot for
Yeah.
his day, you know.
That's cool. So you guys, you had an event in Mid-Ohio for
Yeah.
the AMA Vintage Days,
Yep.
Yeah.
which was, how was that weekend?
Man, that was
I've heard that was a-
motorcycle utopia.
That's what I heard, man.
A lot of farm bikes,
Yeah.
a lot of XR 500s and 400s and 250s, whatever, man.
It sounded like I guess I got to make it out there at some point.
Everybody
but it's just
you could
like
think of was probably there.
Yeah,
a little bit of
pretty nuts.
everything.
A lot
Yeah.
of three-wheelers, just things that you haven't seen in years running around.
So you guys were there, and then you ran over to Sturgis,
Yeah.
did a show in Sturgis.
Yeah, so the season started with Daytona, but because Daytona starts off so early in
Yeah.
the season, we had a little break and then kicked off with Mid Ohio and Sturgis. Our next one is Four Corners, and then it's Smoky Mountain, and then it's Biketoberfest,
Okay,
and then it's back home to California.
okay.
Yeah.
You guys will be on the road a lot.
Yeah,
A little bit.
Yeah.
You have to figure that part of it out.
Will you guys be at Willow Springs this year?
yeah,
BRL?
hmm
Okay.
we'll be there.
Is that an actual round
That is.
Yeah.
for
The-
Drifter Cross?
Yeah, it's our
okay.
last round of the year.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that'll be fun.
yeah.
The California boys always have
We're
fun.
not real
make it
sure where
fun.
we're going to be in the lot yet. We want to be on the drifter pad up top. We just
Uh-huh.
haven't really got that down. We've moved it every time we've been there. We were in a very small section that was kind of technical, like we had just done at Sturgis, which was a super tight technical course. And the guys really like whenever you can get the bike into the transmission, they want bigger, faster sliding.
Okay.
Which is crazy to hear to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I thought it would be more technical, more tight drifting
Mm-hmm.
at first, and now they really want like big exits.
They want the space, huh?
They want to
Yeah.
back it in.
They want to back it in
like,
and actually
aggressively now.
aggressively,
Yeah,
Which is
it's-
cool. I
it's
mean,
which
I
is
think
changing
which
the
is awesome.
dynamic.
Which means I think that there's way more for us to see
Mhm.
as far as drifting.
So thinking long term, like, where do you guys think this can go? Like, if you're talking a year from now, 5 years, or even 10 years down the road, like, what do you guys envision?
Sky's the limit. I mean, I can't imagine that, you know, people aren't going to want to do this all over sooner or later. You know what I mean? Every town you go to, like, what was it, 6 years ago, I came here or whatever for the Supercross, I believe it was.
Mhm.
I met some kids from here, and it was like a huge community
Mm-hmm.
of kids. That's everywhere you go, you know? And I think that there's that many riders at least in every town, in every city that
Sure.
ride Harleys and stunt, you know,
Mhm.
and that's what I've kind of known as traveling once I started, was in with it, you know, and started riding a bit. It's like everywhere you go, there's somebody that can pop a wheelie or scrape
Yeah.
a fender.
Mm-hmm.
And these e-bikes, like the Surons you were talking about,
Yeah.
is really
Elevating
building a community of younger guys that are
Yeah.
that are going to come up and
very interested in stunt
probably
riding.
do the same thing,
Yeah.
you know, that they've been seeing. But their riding's through the roof already at like the early age,
Yeah.
you know, like 10 years old and killing everything that we're doing.
It's having
sure.
like the same effect as skateboarding.
Yeah, it's just a
Now it's
progression
like
of the sport.
young shredders in the skateboard world. Like, it's just crazy how much that grew. And
Yeah, I think because it's a little bit punk rock, I think I kind of like the parallel between the, you know, like drifter cross, or even just not even just drifter cross, but stunt riding is similar to like the progression of freestyle motocross. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you think back in the 90s, like, there was no freestyle motocross. There was some dudes that were free riding.
Right. And we
but-
started heading that direction where there was a little less authority and they didn't want to deal with teams. And then they actually had an opportunity because they had talent to go ride in the hills.
Well, and then there was somebody that, you know, decided to create an organization or give them a platform to put on a show.
Well,
you know, and they started
it's the
having
same way because they were riding in the hills. There's a lot of tickets that come along with riding in the hills, and same thing we're doing on the streets. It's illegal, you know what I mean? And then they started building compounds, and then they, you know, rode that way because of the fact that it costs too much to have a helicopter give you a ticket.
Right. So now it's similar in the way that, you know, now there's freestyle motocross events all over the place. There's kids now that, you know, they don't even race motocross. Like freestyle is all they do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Where, you know, 20 years ago, it was like you probably grew up racing motocross and then transitioned over. But now there's kids that like
I've
never even raced on a track. They just are freestyle guys. That's all they do.
Right.
You know, and now this is a weird blend because it's, you know, there's racing, you know, like whether it be bagger racing or road racing or supermoto or whatever it is they're doing, or you could just be like, you know, coming from like the Harley culture of just like riding your bike to Sturgis or riding up the coast or whatever, you know, that it's pulling from a couple of different places.
Yeah.
You know, maybe these guys, you know, these young kids, their dads have a Harley in the garage and they just get into Harleys, but they're not really into riding up the coast with their buddies. They like to go out and just shred.
Yeah.
So,
well, I didn't buy a Harley because I wanted to ride a Harley. I mean, I've always been a dirt bike mechanic.
Yeah.
Like the motorcycle wasn't the thing for me. It was just like, oh, they're wheeling those too. You know what I mean? I wheelied a dirt bike my whole life, you know, and just had fun doing that. And then said, well, I'm going to go try this thing, and loved it. You know, it's a lot of fun, and you can have a lot of fun with it, but sooner or later you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah. So, I mean, you guys are giving these guys a platform to come out and do it, you know, relatively safely, right?
Right.
I mean, it's still dangerous, but
it's still racing.
It's still racing, and you could still get hurt.
But you can go ride all day without getting hassled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At all, you know?
Right.
And that's a big deal. Like half the time I go and ride, you get moved on or moved along to the next lot, and then that one's burnt. And
yeah, and it's also a platform that allows sponsors to start taking them seriously.
Sure.
Or even to legally sponsor some of these guys. Because there's a legal platform now for them to shine, and it allows sponsorship. Or let's say, you know, there was a company that has been looking at stunt riding for years and has wanted to get involved, but corporate has always said no because it's illegal.
And illegal. Yeah, they have to tiptoe around that.
Yeah, what are we going to do? Put up a video of this guy doing a wheelie down Main Street? We can't do that.
Yeah.
So now, hopefully, it gives this a more professional platform for everybody involved.
Yeah.
For the rider, it gives them an opportunity to shine professionally, and it gives, you know, corporate sponsorship ability, you know, a place for them to actually do that.
Have you ever thought about maybe down the road in the future? Because the one thing I think with amateur racing, if that's what you want to call this, is that it's expensive and hard for people to do, and the travel is a big part of it. So like if a guy wanted to compete in the entire series, it's hard for him to be in Southern California and then Sturgis and then Daytona and then Tennessee and then
the full privateer life.
Yeah, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about maybe having like an Eastern and a Western division type thing to make it a little, and then maybe at the end of the year you have like an East-West
shootout
championship.
This has been from the beginning. I had said we have to do a regional area like Central, like Texas, Florida, and California would be awesome. But yeah, it's just,
that just
right
takes
now,
time, right? And
yeah, I think organically that's
we're going to get there.
To get there, to build to that.
Because I think I just kind of compare that to the BRL.
Yeah.
And I think what the BRL is doing is super cool and everything. But it's very expensive for a guy to build a race bagger by itself and then have to travel East Coast to West Coast, it just limits the amount of people that, you know, I wouldn't say are willing to, but just can afford it. You know, and if you could make the travel easier, maybe you might have more attendees as far as the racers go.
Yeah, and just in finding places to do it that we're really, you know, everywhere we go, we learn something.
Yeah.
And, you know, we would like to have a good area. And most of the time when we go, like we're at Destination Daytona, we started at the Volusia Top Gun or whatever.
Yeah, that was at Daytona.
So now we're at Destination Daytona. So every time we do it, something good happens.
Yeah.
You know, we get in a better spot, or, you know, we probably won't do the first weekend of Sturgis next year. We'll probably do the second weekend. You know what I mean? Just like little things that we might change up. And that's ultimately it, is finding where you need to be and with your idea, you know.
Yeah.
Where we got to go.
I'm just curious, why the second weekend of Sturgis and not the first?
Oh, that was just because majority of it is because between Mid-Ohio and Sturgis, it's like one
back
weekend
to
to the next. Yeah.
Okay.
And we're trying to build our schedule. We're so new. Like, you know,
you guys are still learning
a lot.
We're
as you
learning every aspect of this as we go.
Nobody's done this stuff before.
No.
So you're
Yeah,
literally.
like we drove through the night to come do this podcast.
I
From
texted,
Sturgis.
Jordan, and I was like, hey, we're going to be in town. I want to stop by. And he was like, you know, well, we got to talk then.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'm stoked you guys just even hit us up. I mean, that means a lot to me that you guys even wanted to stop here and then to even jump on the podcast and talk about it. I mean,
place is awesome. Man.
Yeah.
You've done a really good job.
We've done all right. We've done okay here. You know, the podcast is fun. I mean, it's a fun opportunity to, I mean, I'd be stoked if you guys just stopped and, you know, we had this conversation, but to like have the podcast and kind of share it with people and let people know like what you guys are doing behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Tell your story, you know, like let people know what Drifter Cross is. And
we appreciate that.
Without a doubt, we appreciate you for having
I think it's been, I mean, the podcast thing has been fun for me just to not only hear those stories, but be able to share them.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm a fan, you know, I've always really liked Tucker Speed. And yeah, every chance I can come in here and talk to you guys. And then I got to meet you guys and we were around the racing. So I'm just curious, and we'll just air it out on the podcast here. How did you get hooked up with Alex and Slyfox? Like, how did that relationship start? It happened from the racing.
Okay.
You know, Slyfox and Alex has been involved with the racing on the bagger side since the beginning.
Since the start, yeah.
They were there at Laguna Seca for the very first one. And he's been at every race since then, you know? And I was shooting the racing, you know, the King of the Baggers, and I had a lot of friends that raced Harleys back home in California. And I got to meet Alex because I was building my bike, my FLHP, and I needed a front fender. And I was like, hey, I just called up Slyfox's the line for anybody who looks it up on the internet. And he answered. And just I was like, hey, do you have any blemishes of your front fender? And he was like, I might call me back in 2 weeks. I think it was specifically 2 weeks. And I was like, all right. And I called him back in 2 weeks. He's all, yeah, I got one. And I was like, oh, sick. I think he shipped it to me. And I painted it, you know, I had it painted immediately to match the bike, and I took photos for him, and I think he was pretty stoked that I'm sure, you know, when you're a shop or something and you hook somebody up, sometimes they don't really return, right?
Yeah.
And I think he was pretty stoked that I had it painted to look really good, and I took photos for him, and it went on I like my bike.
Sure.
It's a pretty decent bike.
Yeah.
And
yeah, thing's sick.
Thank you, dude. And so that's how I met Alex, and, you know, then he called me up again. He was having his Slyfox pipe tested. Because it's a titanium muffler, so there were some things that we needed to make sure were good. And I didn't work for him yet. He knew I had that bike, and that pipe is for that bike. And he was like, hey, I need this pipe tested. And he was like, are you gonna do like a long ride soon? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm planning on. I hadn't really nailed down a date, but I've been wanting to go to the Grand Canyon and up to Utah, and you know that loop from California. And he's all right, well, come down to Bassani because Bassani makes it. It's a collab.
Yeah.
And we put it on at Bassani, and Daryl, you know, man, R.I.P. Daryl.
Yeah.
Shout out to Daryl.
For sure.
He was like, okay, you got 1 month to put down 5,000 miles. I was like, what? I was like, all right, I'm going to try my best. And so I called my buddy, and we did the road trip. We went up to, that road trip is the road trip that I rode in the coldest weather in my life, too, by the way. I rode in 17 degrees up in Williams, Arizona, because I'm a California kid, and we don't know cold, really.
Yeah.
And we're like, we're going to Arizona.
You probably left
hot.
Phoenix, and it was probably hot in Phoenix.
Yeah, so we
got up there, and it was.
We took 40, and that never hits Phoenix. But all we know in SoCal is heat, right? And unless you're right by the beach,
hot, and that's it.
Unless you're right by the beach, it's pretty hot most of the time. So we're like, we're going to Arizona. Arizona is always hotter. So, but this was Williams, Arizona, and that's cold.
Yeah.
So we got a wake-up call. But anyways, so we go to Williams, and then we go to the South Rim, and then we go to Horseshoe Bend, and then from there we rode up to Utah.
Yeah.
Up to St. George and Hurricane.
Okay.
And then that loop that brings you back down to Nevada.
Yeah, like back to
Arizona,
Vegas.
and then back to Nevada.
Yeah.
And then we hit Vegas Harley. I remember for some reason I always wanted to go to Vegas Harley. And so we did. And then got back, and that was not even close to 5,000 miles. But then for the rest of the month, I just kept riding the bike. And I think I got the bike up to like 3,500 miles in that month. And, well, for me, you know, I was a driver and a sales guy in my last job, so I wasn't forced to ride my bike too much because I had a company car.
Oh yeah.
So I tried my best, and I called Alex, and I was like, "It's been a month. I've got 3,500 miles. He's all, did it break? Or did anything happen? Is it good?" I was like, "Yeah, it's solid," and it was, you know.
Yeah.
And he was like, "All right, cool. You could keep it." I was like, "What? For sure." And then I had it polished, and found out that titanium was really hard to polish, by the way.
Yeah, I actually have one of those pipes sitting over there on the bench that I took off my bike.
Nice. So then after that, you know, me and Alex had that relationship, and he had an opportunity to bring someone on, and I was kind of tired of my old job.
What were you doing before?
I was selling heavy equipment to municipalities.
Okay.
I was a straight up sales guy, like, and I was just done with that job. And plus the photography and the racing was it was getting to the point where it's pulling me away. And an opportunity came up, and we talked, and so I came on board, fortunately.
So now you're the one employee at Slyfox?
Yeah, it's just me and Alex, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, Alex has a crap load of things to do, and so do I, and we got drift across. So yeah, we both wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
I have the skill with sales. I'm a brand specialist, I guess is my actual title.
With Slyfox?
Yeah, with Slyfox. So I'm a rep essentially, and then I have the ability to take photos and do some media, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not the best, but I try, you know, but it has...
I mean, your photos are amazing, I think.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Dude, your photos are crazy good.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate that. I think my forte is, like, action shots for sure. I wish I was better at video, because video is, like, everything now, but we're working on it.
Yeah.
Doing everything we can. Doing everything I can to push Slyfox and Drift Across and help Shawn and Alex and help Slyfox and all that. So.
Yeah.
It's been a journey, but it's been fun, man. So
you pretty much, you don't so much work with for Slyfox, but you're a drifter cross.
Drifter cross. That's me and Alex. Alex breathed a lot of life into it.
Yeah.
It was my idea. I met him through Rob Bidos. Rob's a supercross guy, and we always just talked. He'd come over while I was building the bike or whatever, and he told me about his series that he was having, and he was building this thing, and I was like,
The BRL, right?
Yeah.
BRL, and that was awesome. I was like, that's cool. He told me all about it. I was there whenever he pitched it to Keith McCarty at Factory Yamaha, and McCarty's like, well, all we got's an eluder,
Yeah.
So it just didn't go anywhere with that. But then, first time I saw it, I was like, wow, like they're road racing Harleys,
Yeah.
And I was watching all the flat track stuff that was going on with Harleys and riding Harleys and really interested in them. I was a nerd, man. First bike I had was a Ironhead Sportster. Everybody, yeah, exactly.
I'll say what everybody else says.
Yeah,
Worst bike ever.
the worst bike ever. And being a motocross mechanic, we finally got it all together to where we trimmed everything and made it look cool, and it didn't leak, and which was almost impossible.
Yeah.
And then I had fun with that bike. Bought an FXR, started wheeling the thing.
Was that the black bike?
No, it was a red bike.
Okay.
I bought my red bike first, and it was all painted up, and I really felt bad about like destroying it.
Mm-hmm. But you did?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still ride it, and then I just honestly I got hurt riding my dirt bike a couple too many times, and I traded my dirt bike for the black FXR. But I had like 2 factory dirt bikes basically.
Yeah.
From Yamaha. And, kid was getting rid of an FXR, and I was like, well, dude, you ride moto, I'll give you this one. And he jumped right on it, and I enjoy that bike, man. It's a 1987 taper shaft. Everybody tells me it's like, that is the worst motorcycle in the world. It's a bottom breather. No, not the worst motorcycle in the world. That would be the Ironhead.
So you do agree?
Yeah, no. And after all the work I did to that thing to make it just even work, yeah, I agree.
But the black bike's got the just the regular Evo motor too, right?
Oh, both of them do. Yeah, they're both just Evo. Like I have a 111 S&S in the red bike, and then I got the stock motor,
stock 80-inch,
yeah,
bottom breather, taper shaft, like the worst.
It is the worst of everything, and I've had.
It could be made to work. It's just
it's just a beater bike.
Yeah,
And I started learning how to ride on it, and honestly, it's been my favorite bike. It probably handles the best out of all motorcycles I've ever ridden.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think that the 1987 is a special frame because of the single bung on the neck. There's not a more rigid point on the neck anywhere else. And just it feels different than any FXR I've ever ridden. But I've ridden several of that exact same year model, and they all feel the same. So I don't know. There's something there
something
too.
Weird about them.
Yeah, there's something weird about them.
So then you and Alex teamed up.
Oh yeah.
Created Drifter Cross.
Yeah. So Rob Bidos kind of brought me in over there and said, "Hey man, you want to do that race of yours in 2 weeks?" So me and a buddy went out to right by Oakley, and we set up a course, and Alex came out to watch us just kind of rip up, what we were already kind of doing. And he's like, "Yeah, that looks cool. I'll get behind it." And then 2 weeks later, we're at Willow Springs.
Literally,
this was Willow last fall.
Last fall, our first round. 2 weeks before it, and I had to go to Baja, Mexico, for the 1000. So we got ready, and then I'm in Mexico 2 days before the event. I drive all through the night, make it back to Willow Springs, throw the event, and
tired as hell.
Yeah, and then get through that, and it was awesome. Like we had a really good turnout, for the very first one. It surprised me, and then people were having a great time doing it. You know, it was exactly what I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, thinking about it the whole time, and then whenever we actually did it, it was like, well, they were racing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they actually put down, and every time someone elevated, someone stepped up.
Yeah.
You know?
And even the first one they were only off by, it was still very competitive. Like 1 or 2 seconds, they were still off by.
And that's the thing. Every time you watch one, you see that the race, you know, for
Mhm.
what it is, and it's crazy. They really find fractions of a second on the track
Mhm.
until there's just like nothing left. Like they pick up everything that they can possibly pick up.
Yeah. Within their bike's abilities, because I do think the bikes need to evolve a little.
Even still, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure
Half
so
of the
new.
problem is just getting the bike to do what you need to get it to do to get around the track. You
Yeah.
know, like whenever you dump the clutch, it doesn't need to just bog out and, you know, grab the tire. And
Yeah.
bleh.
Yeah,
Like
It happens to the best of them, and that's why, you know,
you have to change
we're
things.
seeing sprocket changes. We're seeing preload adjustments,
Mhm.
height adjustments even.
I mean, look at the evolution in bagger racing from that first
Yeah.
race in Laguna.
Yeah, that pipe's a
From
little
the,
higher
from
now,
the
isn't
first
it?
Yeah.
guys that were doing it on dynas in California
Yeah,
to what it
to
is
where
now.
it is today. Yeah, I mean, crazy evolution
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
to the motorcycles, you know,
Yeah.
and how we're riding them. And
We'd love to see. You know, you asked the question earlier: is where do we see it in the future? And
Mhm.
what would you like to see? You know, I would like to see more motorcycle manufacturers racing and
Yeah.
pushing their bikes. You know, and see who's got the best bike. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't know what the best bike is. You know, there's nothing that says Harley's the best drifting motorcycle. There's people that do it on Indians. There's people that Jesse Ryan did it on
Yeah.
a Buell
We had
Mhm.
Factory Buell come out and put Jesse Ryan on
on a bike.
that
on
was
the
in
new
Sturgis.
That was
Super
at
Cruiser,
Sturgis,
Yeah,
and he hit the track with it. Even with the basically track tires, a Bridgestone Battle Axe,
yeah.
which
Well,
is
and they had one of those out at in Michigan
right.
on the road course as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unreal. The thing comes on it like
It's an amazing bike.
Oh,
Oh, man, it was a great thing to see.
7,000
And to have someone like
RPMs when
Jesse
it comes
it.
on.
Yeah,
Revs all the way to 11.
yeah,
That's pretty crazy.
crazy.
Yeah, that thing, you have to see it perform the way that it performed that drift across to understand.
Yeah,
I think that Jesse getting on that bike and whipping it around that course did bring a lot to light as far as what that bike can do.
is capable of.
Yeah, and I think there's still a lot more to uncover. That bike has. I don't think that
That
bike's
was a
been
stock
pushed to
setup,
its
like
limit
that.
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that'll be a force to be reckoned with.
And it was cool that they even posted something not so long back that they were looking for a stunt rider to kind of
Oh, really?
push their motorcycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that they reached
They're
out.
very real people. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
They were
they are.
super stoked, super excited. The owner was there, you know, his team was there, and they're like, and Jesse, I think at first was like, so you want me to do this and this? All right. And he did it.
Yeah,
He broke the rear brake light off. He blew out the tire. Yeah,
They let him destroy it.
Yeah.
that's how you learn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find the
Wow.
limit. What do you guys think, like right now, like if a dude wanted to get into drifter cross, what is the best bike to do it on right now that you know of?
They say small frame dyna. I don't see it. I think the bagger is within tenths of the small frame bag.
Yeah,
Like,
I think we just haven't had enough people on the bagger, and the bagger hasn't been modified enough yet because they say that the weight of the bagger helps with the whip.
Really?
So, you know, yeah, the small frame is very agile and very easy to
More than
maneuver.
FXR?
mhm.
Yeah, we haven't had too
Uh,
many FXRs.
The one FXR that we did see was really fast and planted.
hmm
I think that there's something there with motor mounts and the way that the dyna is mounted,
Mm-hmm.
that there's maybe a little bit of twist in the chassis and motor for the. If you've seen them whenever they're blown out,
Yeah,
you know they rock.
yeah.
But the traction that you get off of that actual
That
That
is-
twisting, you
is
think it
what-
plays into the
into the dyna.
into drifting?
Yeah, and I'm not sure we haven't seen enough FXRs to go, oh, well, maybe it initiates because it's more of a rigid mount, that it keeps the swing arm steadied more so than twisting and grabbing traction. Not sure yet, you know.
Have you had anybody on Sporties yet?
We have,
Oh yeah.
and they're fast.
Are
They
they?
are fast.
Yeah.
Sean Miller time,
Yeah.
very fast
Brennan
kid,
Batista.
very skillful.
Are
Brent-
they
Brennan
running
Batista?
like older, like rigid mounted
No.
Sporties or new?
No,
I
rubber
think they were
mount.
both
Rubber mount
rubber
sporties.
mount,
Okay.
fuel injected.
Yeah.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I
Re-
know
really
I know
fast.
Brennan's is rubber mounted
Okay.
and fuel injected. I'm pretty sure Sean's is as well.
And
but
early in qualifying, Shawn went to the top.
yeah, Sean was ripping. I
On
think
a
he
sporty.
has a 1275 kit in his.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely dialed bike. Yeah, they're very capable bikes too. They're just on the lighter side, so you really have to push to get them to slide.
Okay.
From what I've witnessed,
So
I'm not a stunt
weight-
rider, but
Weight's really
yeah,
going to play into.
there's a factor
the
there
way
with
it-
weight. Yeah,
Okay.
I think you just go with the grippiest tire you can possibly put on, get the motor to where you can spin that.
or the
and
gearing.
then- or the gearing.
Yeah.
And let her eat. And you're going to get it to move.
Send
Okay.
it. Yeah, and each rider knows their bike. They know how to push that bike. They know. A lot of the riders have been on their particular bike a long time, so they know what to do.
Well, it's the exact opposite of what we've been doing. We were putting, 401s on the bike because it's slippery,
Yeah.
and that's how you learn.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody was running 777s to learn how to
To
wheelie,
wheelie, yeah.
right? So you go to the 401 to get it
To slide.
disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now that you know how to slide, you're going back to the 777 and making that thing slide.
Because that thing hooks when you
It-
need it to.
When you want, yeah.
Yeah,
And then,
And then there's technique to come in to like know how to
yeah.
get it to slide and spin.
and with a built
versus-
motor, it will.
Yeah.
And with big gearing, you can make it
Yeah.
break it over.
And the guys know where to sit on the bike too. A lot of them will sit on the tank when they need to, or they'll
And then
sit
transition weight
on. Yeah,
to
they'll,
get traction.
they'll sit on the rear fender when they're trying to hook.
Yeah.
But
So
it's a strange evolution of how you would do something one way to learn it, but you might need to go back the other way to go a little faster.
Sure.
You know.
Well, and that's the same in anything, right? Like,
yeah,
but
Yeah,
I'm
It's
interested
cool,
to see
but
if
we're
we ever
getting
hit
there.
slicks
Yeah,
out
yeah,
there.
and to watch it elevate to that is kind of neat. I was telling guys the other day, it's like you're gonna ride like Cyrus Diaz is probably one of the most aggressive riders out there, with what we do, and he can just destroy the course. But I think that the drive that he has just isn't there.
yeah.
Yeah, the exit. I think it's just an adjustment on his bike. He needs.
And he would be
We got to tap
within,
into adjusting it.
the 10th that he needs to win.
So like
Yeah.
on corner exit, like that thing's just spinning it, but not
Yeah.
going anywhere.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just all
so we.
sideways and not moving.
Yeah.
But he is tremendously skilled too. Speaking of Cyrus, he was also from the very first race at Willow. It was Jesse Ryan first, and then it was Cyrus Diaz second, and then it was Jay Brew third.
Okay.
And at the time, Cyrus was also just a local guy with a lot of skill, but not really recognized so much. So and my point with that is every event that we've done, we've been able to give a not so recognized guy some recognition with what their skills are. And that, I didn't know Cyrus Diaz. I knew Jay Brew, I knew Jesse Ryan.
Yeah.
I didn't know who Cyrus
But then all of a
was,
sudden there's this dude that comes out of the
Out
woodwork.
of the
but I know who
Everywhere we
Cyrus
go,
Diaz
there's one
is
of those
now.
guys.
Dude's coming out. Yeah.
Yeah.
We did a rain race at Youngstown Harley Davidson, and there was this kid. And it was completely wet. We run rain or shine. It's just like a national.
Those Ohio boys know how to slide in the rain.
Seriously,
Really?
we just
Yeah.
push the water off as long as it's not standing
Yeah.
water and it's just wet pavement. We're sliding
Going
in
for
the
it.
wet. Yeah.
Yeah.
And those guys got their times down to ridiculous, just about like it was when it was dry. It was just within a couple tenths off as well. And but what you were saying earlier is where do I see it growing to, and what could it be if dealerships or speed shops or things like that participated and said
Factories,
that they wanted to put a rider on a bike. It's a great platform to maximize your exposure because you're actually we have a pretty good content package, you know what I mean, like what you're getting from doing it is going to help you, you know what I mean. Like Cyrus Diaz, he was a great rider. A lot of guys didn't know him, but now I think some people actually go, oh damn, Cyrus rips.
And people know the pink bike now.
Yeah.
He chose pink, and it's a badass bike, and he shreds, man.
Well, I mean, there's a reason it's pink, right?
Yeah.
You remember it.
Attention.
Yeah.
It gets your attention. I mean,
Yeah.
stand out in the crowd. And so, like going forward, I mean, are you guys always going to be kind of a complement to like an existing event? Do you think that you could grow into being like you could be the show?
Want to be.
Yeah.
We want to throw these things to where, they're races. We're just going to have a race and you show up here this day and that's the event, I don't want to be a sideshow,
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
We're a race. We're a national AMA event.
Yeah.
So I don't want to just trail along.
Yeah. We want to get to the point, there's a lot of inspiration from Supercross, motocross, Bagger Racing League. And I think it has the ability to get there.
Yeah.
I mean, are you guys looking to like put a model together where maybe even just a dealership calls you and says, hey, I mean, is that part of the plan? Like,
not really dealerships. I don't
like,
want to be brand specific. I think you kind of, if you do Harley shows at Harley dealerships, everybody thinks it's just a Harley driven thing.
Sure.
I would love to see, a lot of the OEM manufacturers, Yamaha, Honda has a Rebel. I'm sure you can slide that thing.
I bet somebody could.
Yeah, I'm sure someone already does.
Bryce, a buddy of mine,
Or a
Bryce
Yamaha
Moore.
Bolt.
Yeah.
He rips on that thing. So there's other bikes out there, and we need all of them, to come slide. And they're just cruiser, bagger, and I'd love to see supermoto.
Even a sport bike class.
In a sport bike
eventually.
class, sport. So I mean, you can pretty much do whatever.
So I mean, going forward, are you guys like let's just say a dealership, whether it be a Harley dealership or a Yamaha dealership or whatever, are you guys looking for those opportunities, like for a dealership to call and say, hey, we're having a bike night or we're having an event on us this weekend, would love to have Drifter Cross be
at this point
draw?
Trying to grow, we would love to do something like that and maybe do practicing. But as far as racing, we need to have our races at a race venue or something, and just
We've had that sort of situation, and they're open practices where we allow, we basically put on a show and allow the guys to come out and get a taste for it. And because when we were in Ohio before, what he's talking about with the rain, that was basically an exhibition we did of Drift Across at a dealership.
Okay.
And it was essentially an open practice, which led up to the Mid-Ohio race.
Yeah, because I could see that there's a little bit of conflict. Like if you're a race organization, you can't just like, oh, we're so-and-so dealer called, we're going to do an event, this, and you can come earn points or whatever.
For that, we're holding
racing,
them as open practices.
Okay.
Which is a good opportunity because we're so new. Like no one knows what we really are just yet, I mean, we're in our first year.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Because, I mean, that's kind of how it is right now for some of the stunt groups is they basically come in and put on a show at some dealerships, Drifter Cross is a little different.
Right.
It's racing. It's not.
There's a couple car shows that we could attach ourselves to as well, like drift car stuff.
Yeah.
Like Origins.
Origins is a organization we've been talking to through Craze. He's a stunt rider in California. So the point is we are open to that, but they're typically open practices or an exhibition of what this is. But
and
when
not
it's,
actually.
but when it's a race,
rounds
it's
of-
it's at a race venue.
Yeah.
Are you guys doing this year? Are you doing a point system, like a championship point system as
are.
well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you'll crown a champion at the end of the year.
We will.
Okay. What do
Yep.
they win?
Well,
TBD.
You don't have to say.
yeah.
Yeah.
Still figuring that part out.
Yeah.
Okay.
We know what it is, but we're not sure we want to announce it yet. But
Okay.
there will be something.
Yeah.
Of course, they and touching on that, at every race we do have a payout. We
Okay.
have prizes. It's a good segue, I guess, to talk about our sponsors.
Yeah, I mean,
we first, second, and third will get different things from different sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
Second place, you get like a Legends suspension voucher. Third place, you get a shred wedge. And I think first, second, and third get a Recluse clutch.
yeah.
Sponsored.
So Recluse is also a sponsor as well.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys looking for additional sponsors?
Oh,
Always
yeah.
looking. Yeah.
Always looking.
Yeah.
Always nice to have a little
more.
Yeah.
more, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
And obviously Slyfox is the big one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's our
Slyfox's title sponsor.
Yeah.
And, we've been fortunate to have companies like Lexan help us out tremendously as well. We recently brought on Black Widow Investigations. So
Okay.
they're similar to a law firm, but they investigate cases, which is
okay.
very important as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you might be in the middle of something and you're like not too sure what's going on. So they'll investigate for you
Okay.
and push things forward.
Okay.
And big shout out to them. They came on board and they really supported us from the start. Lexan, like I said, Fueling, Legend, Recluse, Mint Speed Shop.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Frank. He's
Huge.
super heavy involved. He brings out the sound system and the PA and the trusses that make our show look very professional.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of this is his merchandise that he makes for us and
Yeah.
sells, and he's a big part of this as well.
Mm-hmm.
What else do we got?
That's about it right there.
Yeah, so Slyfox, Black Widow, Legend, Fueling as well. Fueling always helps us out. Fueling's always involved in racing.
Yeah,
We love
they've got
Luke.
their hand in a lot of that
Yeah,
stuff.
Luke helps. Anybody who's serious Luke's typically involved somehow.
I mean, Luke's even helped me out in the past.
Yeah.
Like he helped me when I first got into flat track racing. Like he sent me parts and all kinds of stuff. Like he's like a really down to earth, like, and gets it, like loves the community. You know what I mean? It's crazy to think like if someone, that the head of like a big company like that, but it's cool to see.
When you're with Luke, you don't feel like that's
no.
the situation.
Yeah,
at all.
he's just like another
Yeah.
motorcycle dude
Normal
just
guy.
hanging out. Yeah.
What's up, Eddie?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Are you taking pictures? All right, make me look good.
Yeah.
Luke's the man.
And that's the cool part about the industry is just getting to know some of these people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether it be racing or whatever it is we're doing. So
It's been a wild ride.
yeah.
Yeah.
sure.
I didn't really know the Harley industry. I only knew the dirt bike industry.
Yeah.
And then coming over, and then there's a lot of people that are, doing double duty.
Yeah.
So it kind of filled the gaps for me. But it's definitely been way more relaxed.
You miss the
Moto
world?
stuff, not at all.
No?
No, I'm enjoying myself. Whenever I was done at Yamaha, I told Jim Roach, I said, I think I'm gonna just go focus on my riding.
Really?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was to a point where I had wanted to ride as a motocross mechanic my whole life.
Yeah.
I wanted to ride, except for there's no time for riding.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
You
lot
guys
of
just
work.
grind.
No, it's a grind. It's
Yeah.
32 weekends out of the year, plus Paris and Geneva. And those aren't, you might have a guy that goes and does that. For some
Well, and it's
reason.
even more now with the whole new
World Supercross
the
or Super Motocross.
Yeah, the playoffs are where
Yeah, it's nuts.
now it's even extended more than that.
Yeah, and I wasn't too into the whole COVID thing, and they wanted to be corporate and maybe
Yeah.
take a jab and stuff, and I was just like, I'm good.
That changed. COVID changed everything.
Everything, yeah.
It had an effect on everything.
The world.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah.
But good or bad, whatever. I don't know.
I feel
So-
like the Harley community is one of the only ones that said, we're just going to keep doing us, though.
Yeah, I think the
Sturgis
Harley
never
culture.
stopped.
Oh, dude, I was in Sturgis
Yeah.
in 20.
Yeah.
Like, and there wasn't a mask in sight. Just 500,000 people in Sturgis and
Yeah.
no masks, partying, whatever. And,
Riding.
and
We're social distancing.
yeah,
Right.
it was wild. But yeah, so well, cool. I appreciate you guys reaching out and swinging through here on your way home.
Well, thanks for
Yeah,
having
thanks
us.
for having us, man.
People can come check out Drifter Cross in Four Corners. We'll be there.
Yeah.
Hey,
We'll be in
follow it
Four
on
Corners.
We'll party.
Yeah, check you out on Instagram. But you guys, it sucks because I'd love to come watch, but we're doing a little VIP hospitality
Okay.
thing on Sunday at the Hill Climb
Where is the hill climb?
at the
Fort
ski
Corners?
resort at Purgatory.
Oh, okay. How far is that from the dealership?
I should know this, but I don't. It's like a 20-minute ride up the highway,
Okay.
like towards Silverton.
So it's closer than the casino?
I think it's probably closer, or maybe about the same distance from downtown Durango.
Yeah. So yeah, that pulls you away.
So yeah, we're doing our little thing on Sunday at the Hill Climb.
Well, if you can, we'll have practice on Saturday, and we'll be setting up early. And most of the time, we're building out the course. So if you even can come and you saw it at Nebraska.
Yeah,
So you've
yeah, I've
seen
seen it there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've seen it, and I saw the one. I watched the one in Willow last year.
Okay, you were
You know,
there too.
yeah, I
right?
was-
Yeah.
That was the first race I announced was Willow.
Yeah, I remember that.
How are you enjoying your new little switch?
My
over
little-
from racing it and
To
doing
jumping
that?
into the booth.
Yeah.
Honestly, I kind of enjoy it.
I think you're killing it.
Yeah, you're doing a good job.
Yeah, I actually like it, which is kind of strange to me.
Is it one of those moments where you're like,
I was
I'm here
surprised
now.
to hear that. Whenever I was in Nebraska, and I was like, "You're gonna announce another one?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I miss racing. I miss being in
The competition?
yeah. But I mean, I still can't race even today, right now, with my leg. My leg's just still pretty weak and not a ton of mobility in it,
Yeah.
But the announcing thing is actually quite enjoyable. It's stressful. I think I'm more stressed doing that than racing. You know what I mean? Like I sweat like no other one.
Because you're like, right when you're not talking, you're like, what am I going to say? What am I going to say?
And it's all
And then
like
it's like,
live.
boom.
And
I
there's
gotta
no
talk.
editing. Like if you screw up, there's no editing it out. Like,
Yeah.
were you in Michigan?
No, I
Okay.
missed that one.
Michigan, like the whole trophy or not the podium ceremony at the end of the day, like went to shit. Like there was a bunch of technical difficulties, and I was the podium
Okay.
dude. Zach, who does the announcing this year,
He's really good too.
He's super.
And he came out of nowhere too.
Yeah, he's an off-road. He's a GNCC guy.
Okay.
He calls all the GNCC races.
Okay.
He's super good at it though.
Well, you're right there with him though, dude.
Well, the nice thing, so this year, if we're going to talk about it, this year Zach came on. Zach does it for a living,
Yeah.
and he's super good at it. But he's an off-road guy, and he's like, I've never done any road racing. He's like, I don't know what Harleys are. I don't know what bagger racing is. So he's like super green to what we're doing. But he's really good at like setting it up and all that, and like thanking the sponsors and setting the scene and all that. But then he can throw it over to me and be like, hey, well, what's going on the track? And I can kind of talk about, each rider, because I know everybody in the BRL.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
you're
it's
coming
like-
from a place of experience.
Yeah, and I told Zach, I'm like, dude, like, you need to learn this stuff. So like in the broadcast, just pitch it to me, like, what's that guy doing?
Yeah.
Like, and it doesn't have to be like because you don't know. You're asking me so I can explain it to the viewers, but in a sense, I'm really telling him too.
Yeah.
And he can be
He's
like,
learning in
why
that moment.
why this or why that? And I could be like, oh, so what he's doing here is, this, or what he wants to be trying to do, or whatever. And it's been working good. It's
Yeah,
been
and I
fun.
think that puts you in the position where that's what you really know.
Well, and
and
that's
it's
what's
like-
weird for me, because I wouldn't consider myself an expert at that, but I'm kind
Yeah.
of speaking as the expert, and I don't think of myself that way.
Oh,
You know what I
well,
mean?
I
But-
beg to differ, sir.
Well, then you're speaking from experience.
Yeah, I mean, I have some
Yeah.
experience. I mean, I've built a bike to race it. I've raced
You've
it.
raced
I've
it.
had podiums.
You've tuned it.
I tuned it.
You've been there from pretty much the beginning.
yeah, I mean,
And you race out. You don't just do road racing. You know, you did flat track.
flat track. I've raced motocross in,
Yeah.
in my lifetime. I've drag raced. I've done a lot of racing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get it. And I
I mean, that's what I always thought is you guys were pretty much a race-driven shop.
and that comes from me personally, just loving racing of all sorts. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like what's going on behind us in the shop today is, you know, a lot of repair and maintenance. That stuff pays the bills. And then we get to go racing too. And we build some race bikes, whether it be flat track or now bagger racing. Maybe we need to build a drifter cross bike. You know
Hey,
what I mean?
let's
And get
go.
it. We need to find us a rider.
Yeah.
we've
Well, you got the
plenty of
Hive
those
crew to
guys.
pick from.
We got plenty of local
Yeah.
talent. So yeah, I mean, whether I find
Shout
a
out
local
Hive
guy,
crew.
yeah, for sure. Maybe we'll have to kind of get into drifter cross too.
It'd be awesome.
We'd love
But-
to have you.
But yeah, so that's kind of, I mean, that's me, but we're not here for me. We're here for you
Okay.
guys.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, man.
But yeah, thank you guys for stopping through. You know, I know you guys got to get back on the road and get back to Southern California.
Yep. We got a 10-hour drive?
Yeah, it's
About
a time
Yeah, I'm
machine.
trying to finish today.
It does.
I want to get home.
You can do it.
Yeah, we will.
You know, one time I drove, I wanted to race the Moto Beach Classic, the super
okay,
urban race.
Huntington Beach.
Yeah. This was like, I think 2019. I worked Friday. The race was on Saturday. I worked all day Friday, loaded my flat track bike, all my gear in my van, and I drove through the night, just went straight to the beach,
Sent it.
sent it, raced, and then drove home on Sunday.
That's a
So
fun event.
That's a super fun event. And the year I did it, they didn't race on the beach. They raced in the parking lot.
Okay.
It was
Oh.
on the asphalt.
Right. See, like,
And it had a gnarly like wood ramp in it. And it was just like sending dudes like,
dude, you were racing with Josh Heron,
Daytona.
all
yeah,
those guys.
yeah, yeah,
was
dude,
nuts.
that was crazy. That was a fun event, but
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you guys. I appreciate
Yeah.
you guys coming on. I'll encourage everybody to, you know, go on and find you guys, you know, on what is your Instagram handle for Drifter Cross?
It's drifter_cross.
Okay.
And then the website is drifter-cross.com.
Okay.
And
Follow that and
yep,
Slyfox.
Slyfox,
Come out to Four Corners and
Four
watch
Corners, yeah.
it. Come out to Four Corners and race.
Yeah.
Even better,
Yeah,
right? If
you're-
you're a stunt kid right now,
If
like,
you're an inspiring slider, come do it.
sign up. And where do dudes sign up?
On the website.
On the website.
So
at
go
Drifter
to the
Cross.
www.drifter-cross.com. Go to the athlete section,
Okay.
and then it'll walk you through it. And yeah, it's pretty simple. There's
Got to get your AMA license and bring your long sleeve T-shirt and over the heel, over the ankle shoes.
Yeah, high
and you're
tops.
good. Your high tops.
full helmet.
Sounds easy.
gloves.
I would encourage every dude out there that's stunting this weekend to check
Yeah,
it out. Come
check
out.
it out and try it.
Try it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see this thing blow up.
Yeah,
Thank
me
you.
too.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Right on. Thank you guys.
Yep. Thank you.